You're listening to Seek Travel Ride, a podcast sharing bike adventures from people from all over the world. And this episode is sponsored by Old Man Mountain, makers of the most durable bike racks out there. If you want to head out on an adventure, you need to strap gear onto your bike, and Old Man Mountain have you covered in a myriad of ways. Head to oldmanmountain.com to find out more. Now, onto today's episode.
I think the first day, I was like, there's no way. I was like, we had left kind of late, but we had made it, 20, 30 miles, like not far at all. And it was so windy. The bikes were so heavy. I hadn't worked out in 8 weeks because I was injured. All these compounding things. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, this is going to be, there's no way. But I think starting off on such a difficult note, we were able to kind of like get into that rhythm of suffering, I guess, a little bit. Obviously still finding, joy in the entire experience, but yeah, physically it was very difficult the first few days, and it was kind of questioning if it was going to be possible, if we could do it in the time. We gave ourselves like 40 days. Yeah, it was tough.
Welcome to Seek Travel Ride, where we share the stories and experiences of people taking amazing adventures by bike. Whether it's crossing state borders, mountain ranges, countries or continents, we want to share that spirit of adventuring on two wheels with our listeners. Hello listeners, it's Bella Malloy here, host of the show, and today I'm super excited to be welcoming Cody Cirillo to the podcast. Cody is a skier and filmmaker who has spent years heading into some pretty remote places, skiing some pretty epic lines, down some mountains and building film projects around those very journeys. One of those trips took him to Mongolia, where he explored the Altai Mountains, and it was so remote and involved multiple forms of transport. 4x4s, hiking, he even had a section travelling by camel just to reach the ski terrain. Now, those sorts of trips are happening more and more from Cody, and where getting there is half the work and half the experience. That's what those trips are about, and that's what Cody's adventures have become about as well. This is a podcast about bike adventures, so you're probably wondering how on earth a skier fits into all of what I'm talking about. Well, the reason I wanted to have Cody on the show is because of the way he started using the bike as part of his ski trips. Through what I would term to be ski bikepacking, he's taken these adventures and he's made them more human-powered, choosing to cycle to the mountains rather than just arriving there. The bike becomes part of the challenge, riding it to where he's going to, how hard it has become, the grit you've got to go through. It's all part of the story, and it's a big part of how he now experiences some of these places as well. Cody's first real foray into ski bikepacking was back in the US in 2021, where he rode from Colorado into Utah, crossed some pretty big open landscapes with his skis strapped on the bike in places where you wouldn't think of skiing at the time. But finally, he would ride some epic lines on those skis right at the very end. Cody then took that idea even further in Iceland. This time though, he was joined by a good friend Matt, and they loaded up their bikes with skis and all their equipment and set off to cycle the 1,700 kilometres of Iceland's ring road. Along the way, they would deal with all of the weather. Listeners, I don't think I've seen wind at this level on anything before. Wind, of course, rough weather, a hell of a lot of it. A lot of time on the bike because when you're facing weather like that, you end up going a hell of a lot slower. They'd ride until something would catch their eye, stash their bikes, and then head off hiking to ski those very lines. Cody documented that journey in the film called 100 Words for Wind. And when I watched that film, I knew, hell, this is an adventure I need to dig into more. So I'm super stoked, listeners, to be chatting with Cody today, and we are going to hear all about this incredible adventure. Cody Cirillo, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Bella. Thanks for the very kind intro. Appreciate it.
I don't ski, but I'm nearly stoked to want to learn. Maybe not at your level. But I have been digging into your films for the last week or so, knowing I'm going to interview you, and I've got a stack of questions ready to fire away. But Cody, the first question I ask, and I ask it to all my guests, is, do you remember the very first bike you ever rode?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't remember the exact bike, but I remember where I was and learning to bike. And we had this little condo when we first moved to Breckenridge, Colorado. I was super young, learning to just ride my bike in front of the condo. Like kind of every afternoon after school, I'd go with my dad and try to learn how to bike. I had training wheels, and then I remembered taking them off, and I would just bike until I fell over and started to skin myself, and I'd probably go in for the night and try again the next day.
Do you remember when it all clicked?
I don't remember the exact moment, but I remember the like constant trying, I guess. It felt like a battle every day until I finally figured it out.
Did you bike a lot then from then? Like when you look back at growing up, obviously, you're a professional skier at a pretty high level, let's face it, to do what you do. So I can see that skiing would have been something you definitely did a lot of growing up. But what about riding bikes? Like when there's no snow around, did you ride bikes much?
Yeah, definitely a bike rider. Not a ton. I did some like little races maybe when I was like, super young, little mountain bike races, especially growing up in Colorado. We had tons of trail systems, from in front of our house, behind our house. Friends and I would bike into town all the time and bike all the trails around our homes. So I was kind of, a very recreational biker. I think just from the environment and getting around town by myself when I was, pre-driving.
And what about once you started driving? Like, obviously that would have come at the same time where probably skiing took off even more and more from you. But like having a bike, would it be something that you'd still do?
Not as much. Probably not until I got a little bit older, kind of out of college. I'd say, I wasn't really biking a lot and got my first mountain bike again, really like 6 years ago, kind of more recent. And so I had a little bit of a break, and then we moved back to a new mountain town in Telluride, Colorado, and started picking up the bike again. And it's been awesome.
I imagine like where you live, you say mountain towns. I think of that about where I live in France, very much mountain towns. And it's a pretty epic landscape. Like it's hard to be bored of the area that you're riding in, I find. The weather changes stuff so dramatically too. What it's like on a bluebird blue sky day to what it's like when the wind's blowing to what it's like when, maybe the weather's coming in. It changes how you experience whatever you're doing, whether that's skiing or riding or hiking and stuff as well.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like growing up as a mountain kid and kind of like doing Boy Scouts and being outside all the time, and even when I was younger on my bike or skiing, it was just like, I think I loved that variability in the weather and in the landscapes, being able to experience it on my skis or in the summer on hikes. I think just kind of a mountain kid at heart, and I just love it.
Obviously, skiing something you fell really in love with, and now it's become, your career. Tell me about that. Like, is that something you consciously work towards from a certain age, or is it something that sort of serendipitous moments sort of happenstance together to lead you where you are now?
Yeah, I guess like any kid, kind of, not any kid, but like most kids, I guess, growing up in Breckenridge, which is a ski resort town in Colorado, I was super fortunate to have been put on skis at a super young age. I was probably 3 when I started. I don't think I loved it right away.
I wonder if it was a battle like on the bike.
Yeah, I think so. But I know my parents, when I'd go ski with them, I'd just be like 10 a.m. and I'd want French fries, So they started to put me into the clubs. Like, this isn't going to happen anymore. Like, he needs some structure. So I started doing the clubs, and we did our little races. And then I think where I really started to enjoy it and see what I liked was learning about freestyle. And so my brother had done the mogul team, and then I joined that, and that's where I think just the whole scene I kind of fell in love with and wanted to be a pro skier. I saw these guys who were doing tricks on skis and had this kind of outlandish culture and were like the renegades and rebels of the sport. And I think kind of skateboarding as a kid and, being just kind of a mountain kid really felt drawn to that. And so I kind of wanted to be a professional skier. And I just loved the style and the tricks and could, I think, like see myself doing that. So from an early age, I really wanted to be a professional skier. And so I kind of started to go along the path to being able to do that. I don't think I like knew exactly what, where I'd want to go.
Yeah.
And it's obviously morphed quite a lot through the years. But for me, the entrance was with, mogul skiing and then park skiing. And then lately it's kind of shifted to the backcountry.
In terms of the backcountry, and I think of the places that you've been to, Listeners, I'll put a link to Cody's YouTube channel in the show notes because you will definitely want to watch the films that we're going to be discussing here. But like, it's taken you some, the word epic gets overused so often, but I can't think of a better word to describe it. Like, it's taken you to some epic places, some epic countries, and places, I'll be honest with you, that I don't think of for skiing. Places like we're talking about Mongolia or the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. Now, it sounds ridiculous. I've spoken to many bike adventurers who've ridden to these places, obviously not in the snow there, and I know the altitude that we're talking about in these places, but I never think of it from a skiing point of view regardless. When you've worked so hard for so long, it's not a surprise to you to be in these places because you've certainly earned your part there. But do you still have moments where you sort of go, wow, look what I get to do?
Yeah, all the time. I think to be able to kind of come up with these dream trips, like it feels like I've been able to do these dream trips almost yearly. I don't know how it happens, but, I just keep trying to work hard and work with good people and just come up with ideas. And I think a lot of them recently, especially with doing human-powered efforts, kind of allows us to think outside the box of kind of where people traditionally go skiing. So for us, that's led to places like Morocco or Mongolia, or Iceland obviously has kind of heli skiing and just kind of ski resorts as well, but changing the method of the approach. But I think, trying to have a more creative lens when it comes to skiing, and I think especially because I've been skiing for so long, for me it's like, trying to look at these places where, hey, maybe it's a little different and weird and unique, but the skiing is never maybe it's the red thread and the common part of it all.
Yeah.
And kind of what grounds it in me and my identity. But I'm not just going a place to go ski really anymore. It feels like I'm trying to go with intention and to go learn. And for me and kind of the little group I've surrounded myself with, that typically ends up being in a place that, we've never experienced before, whether that's a culture, environment, or something like that.
Where's the place that's felt so much, how do I want to phrase this, Cody? Let me think. When you say you want to go to a place and learn, where do you feel in your journeys, just, say in the last 5 years, where do you feel you've learnt the most? What's been the place that's been so drastically different in a way?
Yeah. Let's see, I think Morocco was a big eye-opening experience. I'd never been to a more Muslim country before, or Islamic country. And so that was, eye-opening for sure to kind of experience that, being, a Westerner and based in the U.S., and especially from a skiing perspective. I've been fortunate to, travel the world throughout the years, but that was a really cool one. And for that too, I think I learned a lot about myself, and I think that's what's important on these trips too. And the human-powered effort definitely kind of helps with that, because you have to, you get to the braking zone so many times, and you learn what you're capable of, and you learn what kind of teammate you are or who you want to be in the next adventure. And I think, it's led me to a lot of these experiences, I guess, have just led me to, I don't know, wanting to be more fully present. I think that's what kind of helps.
And I think also, when you are somewhere that's just so different, and it's the first time you're in such a starkly, foreign type of place, that's where you do connect more, I think, because I always think with bike adventures, for example, Cody, there's such a sensory feel to them, because when you're traveling, you feel the direction of the wind first and foremost, right? But you feel the sun or you feel the rain, and then you're feeling the terrain under you. So you know the effort that it takes to rise up through the landscape or zoom through it. And you hear maybe the bird noise or the cars, or you might be going through a chaotic sort of city. You sort of are connected, and you might have the smells that hit you in the face. And sometimes those smells remind you of other places that you've been to that have had the same stuff. It's so sensory. There's an element where the human-powered stuff, whether it's on a bike or skiing or hiking or, maybe riding a camel, I guess, that's the sort of stuff that connects you so much more, because I think, unlike, say, getting in a car or hopping on a plane and then just arriving and then, to the new ski resort, there's a difference to it. I don't know whether you'd equate it a bit more differently as well, if we took it to skiing terms, the difference between, going somewhere on a chairlift to ride down, or going, heli skiing. I'm sure you've done that before as well, to, the human-powered effort of, when you're in Iceland, hiking up to a couloir to ski down. Like, it's a different feel you get when you're there onto your own steam.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why, like, I never think of myself as like an endurance guy or something like that, and that's why I'm doing this human-powered effort.
Cross, you must come out of those trips as an endurance guy, because I don't know how you endure. Like,
No, I'm a downhill guy for sure, but the reason is, like you're saying, it's like the connection with the environment that you're moving through, and just with the, I guess, kind of like visceral nature of that experience is something that continually draws me in. It's what makes me appreciate my surroundings more. And skiing, it makes you learn the snowpack, learn be an observer, what's going on. I kind of think back to that first bike to ski trip I did in Utah, and it was off the couch, and it was like one of the hardest things I'd done at the time, because I didn't train at all, and I wasn't a biker. It was the first time I'd been on a gravel bike. But, the experience was so magical, and like that visceral nature of it all. Like, I had driven that road so many times, and now I even still do when I go to Utah, and you can remember how you felt at some exact certain points. You remember what this piece of asphalt looked like. You remember like all these little things. And I think like that presence in the environment that you move through is, you don't get that from a car, in like skiing, you don't get that from zipping up on a snowmobile or a chairlift or something. It's really just earned and learned, I guess, the hard way. Yeah.
Yeah. And like that idea that you also remember stuff. It's funny, it takes me back to when we first moved to France. We moved to the Northern Hemisphere from Australia during COVID times, and we actually got stuck in Ireland for about 18 months thanks to the way that lockdowns transpired. Anyway, moved on, and the way we eventually moved house was on our bikes. So we packed everything on our bikes, caught the ferry over to Cherbourg in France, and rode down for a few weeks.
Cool.
And we, a couple of years ago, had relatives from Australia visiting us, and we were driving. At that point, we were in a car and we were driving up north through the country. And I turned to my husband and go, we rode this road. I remember this. And it was like some nondescript French village that looks like, I love French villages. Hell, I live in the country. But a lot of them can start looking very similar. But then it reminded me exactly on the specifics of, it was this day, it was this warm. I could probably tell you what I ordered from the boulangerie, like, those sort of things. Yeah. And it is exactly that. But I also think, and this is a bit of a random tangent, but I'm in Australia at the moment and I'm in Canberra. I've been riding on a lot of the awesome bike paths here. I've seen a couple of snakes on the path, and I was saying to my husband and my friend the other day, every time I ride, over the years I've seen a few of these, I always remember whenever I'm on that section, I always think, I saw a snake here once. Like, there is just something that just triggers your memory randomly, right? But, oh gosh, I want to talk about that trip that you did take from Colorado to Utah, the ski bike packing. Had you seen other people do that before? Because it's not something that you see a lot of, but maybe in the US you do see a bit of that.
Yeah, I'd seen some people do it for sure. Like in the US, or we had done some stuff with our mountain bikes before, kind of like A-framing them on our backpacks to go ski and stuff like that. There's some skiers, German skiers, who did a really cool trip in Europe. I think they started kind of home in Germany and went down to Nice, something like that, with their skis. And it was a film called Ice and Palms, and that's a beautiful film too. Incredible trip. And so people have been doing it a little bit, and just kind of, I think same way too. It's the entirety of the experience, like you're not just going for the skiing, you're not just going for the biking, it's this whole thing wrapped to get up together. It's kind of like, it's tough to put into words, like that wholeness, I guess, of the experience. Yeah.
Listeners, if you're tuning into this pod, the chances are that you're using it as inspiration for your own bike adventures. Maybe like some of my guests, you're actually planning to go all the way around the world. Or perhaps you're just like me and you get stoked if you've got 4 days off in a row where you can go out there and get lost on your own adventure. The one thing we all have in common, though, is typically these adventures require us to strap gear on our bikes. That's where our sponsors Old Man Mountain come in. I've personally been using their equipment for over a year now. I've turned my dual suspension mountain bike into my perfect adventure bike, having their divide rack on the rear of my bike and their axle rack mounted on my front forks. They're super reliable and dependable and can carry more gear on my bike than perhaps I can pedal. I highly recommend you head to oldmanmountain.com, have a look at the solutions that they have for you, figure out what's going to work best for your adventure, and support the brands that support this podcast. Now, back to the episode. Yeah, and I guess the genesis of the idea for you to take that trip, you sort of reference it loosely in the documentary film there, where you sort of say you had plans for winter and things just got complicated, they sort of fell through. So I don't know if that was sort of an undertone to maybe there was filming or skiing that was meant to happen that didn't happen, and, you know, and so then you're at a loose end and you sort of then decided to say, well, I've got this time now, stuff it, I'm going to do something totally different. Like, how did the idea, was that sort of the flow of it?
Yeah, kind of, I'd say. I mean, I had thought of bike to ski trips for a little while. I think I had thought of this Iceland one even for like a few years before I tried that one, just like in the back of my head somewhere.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I had this like, I guess, yeah, this thought that I wanted to do something like this for a long time. And that one seemed like a good option. I had never been to the LaSalle's before to ski, and they're pretty close to us in Telluride. Probably like a 2.5 hour drive maybe to Moab from us. So I don't know. I feel like I'm the kind of person when I get an idea and I'm really into it, I'll make it happen and really try. And so luckily was able to have the right friends around me who had gear that I could use. I had like a little bag rack from Walmart that was just swaying the whole time, and, you know, pieced this whole thing together, but we made it work, which was super cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, having an idea and being drawn to something and then just saying, whatever, let's go try and see. Let's see what happens, yeah.
Can I ask, because you do mention at the very end there, you know, your one bit of advice to people would be, you know, if you're going to do it by bike, maybe train a little. So you hadn't trained at all.
Yeah.
Take me to the first day then, maybe hour 5, where you're feeling it, your legs are a bit worked and you're on a climb. What are you thinking in those moments? Because it's easy to think about the awesome parts where you might be zooming on the bike on a downhill, or where, you know, you just feel like, I don't know, there's times when I've on a bike adventure, even when it's hard, it's like, I don't know, I want to use the word flow state, like everything is just dialed and you are feeling it and you're on cloud 9. Conversely, when you worked a bit, you're on cloud -20. What's going through your head there?
Yeah, totally. I think the start was a little uneasy. I was like, okay, is this going to work, you know? And then was starting to feel it. Maybe.
Even just actually, I've got to hold you there. Even just like how you got the skis on there and like pedaling, like, do they even interfere with your pedaling technique?
Yeah, a little bit. I like really cranked a bunch of oil straps to put them tight to the frame, but I was definitely rubbing sometimes, and so I had to kind of constantly adjust stuff. I'd feel my knees going out a little bit wider, so maybe that's why, like in that film, I kind of have like a little knee issue. Obviously, it didn't work. I should have trained, and that would have helped too. But figuring it out, I think that first little bit, it was the rear rack wasn't tied to the axles at all, so it was just pretty wobbly. So going down some of the bigger hills at speed was kind of sketchy too.
Oh gosh, so the bits that should be fun were sort of the ones you had to be extra cautious on.
Sure. But I think, it was a little uneasy, figured it out, and then, like you said, maybe started to hit some flow state and some happiness. Like there's a big climb coming out of Telluride to this town, Norwood, and it was just like, somehow feeling pretty good. And then you get crushed by some winds, things like that when it gets a little bit more open in the plains, and then your body's feeling it. But I think what I learned on that trip too is how important all these little micro moments are of like happiness or like treats or something to like kind of keep the stoke burning, you know? So whether it was like stopping for a little ice cream or something like that, like pretty wild how much that can do for your mental state and get you through the next bit.
Oh my gosh, that brings me to so I have actually interviewed one other awesome adventurer, Steph Devry, who took a ski bikepacking, bike to ski. I'm not actually sure what the official term for what you guys do is, but let's call it both this episode. Anyway, she took an awesome trip through the Yukon and Alaska last year, and Steph has a very small bike frame, which meant that even attaching her skis was really problematic. So hers was sort of like pinned like A-frame. It was an amazing adventure that we talked about, listeners. I'll put a link in the show notes so you can listen to it.
Yeah,
but
cool.
I knew I was going to interview you, and I thought, well, I have one person that could maybe ask a question that comes with some sort of qualification. And I said, Steph, I'm interviewing this awesome dude. And she said, oh, hang on. Is he from Revelstoke or something? Because she's based there now.
No
she's
way.
an Aussie, but she goes, oh, I saw the film, like when you guys put it on there. Anyway, so she's
nice.
seen your Iceland film, and she goes, this is going to be fun. All right, this is my question. He goes, what are your tricks for dealing with the demoralising headwinds and crosswinds?
Oh.
The winds are so much more dramatic because of the surface areas of the skis. We were getting blown all over the place in a crosswind, and the headwind was so much more soul-crushing because I could only have my skis up in an A-frame above my head. We would sing songs and we would have snack breaks every 30 minutes, but I'd like to hear some more super secrets.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, Iceland was so rough with crosswinds and headwinds. I mean, yeah.
Oh, he's made it to the name of the film.
Yeah, exactly. It just kind of seemingly kept getting worse and worse at times. Like every day was like wrenching it up, you know. But I think exactly the same thing. Those little victories where you could celebrate with a Snickers or something like that. Like I think snacks were the only way to help. And I think like Steph was saying, having a good partner that you can have good banter with, like that was super important too. You know, I think like Matt and I have done so many adventures together and are both pretty positive. So even when it gets super bad, we're able to find some stupid joke that we've been talking about for hours on the bike or something to kind of cheer us up and lift our spirits, or be self-deprecating enough to, you know, to have fun with it. And then the little things is kind of what it comes boiled down to. So a joke, a Snickers, or a gas station somewhere in the far distance, like whichever one kind of came first. Yeah.
I mean, how many hot dogs did you have in Iceland?
We had quite a few. We didn't go insane on them, but like every gas station, we'd probably get one at least. Not every gas station, but like, you know, every salt stop.
Can you have tortellini pasta anymore?
Yeah, no doubt. It's so good.
Oh, so it just brings the good vibes across. Because, like, yeah, I often think like you either overdose on the stuff you eat day after day after day and you cannot bear the sight of it anymore, or sometimes you have it just to take you back to being in that moment. I don't know, like if you have tortellini pasta now, are you going to just be thinking of boiling it up on your jet boil and, you know, hearing the wind bash your tent up in Iceland somewhere?
Yeah, right. Some PTSD. No, it was kind of out of circumstance with not having a lot of budget to work with. And then, yeah, camp meals are super expensive too, especially in Iceland, and the food's expensive. So it was readily available at gas stations and grocery stores, and we could just grab a couple bags and had some high caloric density, and it was pretty easy to make.
Yeah.
Really fine tune it with our jet boil, and yeah, it was rad. I mean, we were kind of dirt bagging it, but yeah, it was cool.
But that's part of what makes the adventure fun as well. If I was to take you back away from Iceland and back to the Colorado to Utah adventure, what was it like when you could finally actually start to use your skis? Like take the skis off, the ski boots off, ditch the bike, the snow's appeared, and you can actually get to the bit that you were really looking forward to?
Yeah, no, that was great. I mean, I feel like the skiing most times now is a little bit like second nature, where, I mean, obviously you're operating in a dangerous environment and have to think about it quite a bit when you're out there. But when it comes to the physical side of it, you don't have to like think as much and kind of can get into that flow state of maybe a little quicker.
It's your norm. It's your norm
exactly.
In a way, right?
I just know it so well after doing it for 30 years now, you know. So it felt like a break. I think with the biking, especially in Iceland, the biking was so heinous most days that even if the skiing was like so tough too, and we were just in snowstorms or whatever it was comfortable. So it felt good and fine. And I think like it's a little bit easier, it seems like, to turn back from skiing versus like biking, almost needing to get somewhere. Got a little tough, you know?
Yeah, because that was definitely an element with Iceland, probably more than, you know, with the Colorado-Utah trip. Like with Iceland, you've got 1,700 odd kilometres, I think, to do. And I think, was it around 35, 36 days or whatever?
Yeah.
So imagine there's a time frame that you need it to be done by. And then you've got the weather, which becomes the unknown variable. Or maybe it became very known after maybe day 2. Like, this is what we're up for. Like, I think there's people in the documentary, like Icelandic people, who are sort of, I think you show them at the very end. There's a couple of guys, and one of them's like, "Oh, you're going to be taking the wind on in that direction," like
Yeah.
sort of ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Wait for it, guys. But the element of like the physicality of what it's like to actually do that, when you realise this is what normal's going to be like, oh my gosh, that's got to be nuts. Like, how do you mentally prep yourself for that? Or, Cody, on the flip side, is that sort of the stuff that you're living for? Is that what you're there for in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the intention behind even choosing bikes was to go slow and to really experience the place. And, Iceland is so raw and chaotic and the weather is very unforgiving. So we were just like our most vulnerable on bikes. And, we got smoked most days. And it was a lot of times was very tough to get out of the tent and go start biking for the day when you knew you're just going to get crushed. I think kind of after most of the skiing, we did most of the skiing on the front half of the trip. And then we still almost had probably like 2/3 of the biking left to do, just with the way that where we were skiing kind of worked out. So yeah, a lot of those days were pretty tough, like cold, windy. There's not like skiing at the end of it or something like that. It's kind of
the carrot. There's no carrot ahead of you, other than you just got to do it.
the finish, but in a way that's like, I don't know, kind of nebulous or something. But it was good to kind of reframe that as well, I think, because that never felt like the goal maybe or something. Like, yeah, it was initially, I guess, but I think throughout the entire trip, like, it didn't really matter. Like, it never felt like, even when we were done, like, it didn't feel like we checked a box or something like that and did it. I think just the whole lived experience was like so, I don't know, so much that like it just felt so much more important than that. So even just like saying that we just did that loop, like, it felt like it diminished it in a way of like the rest of the entirety of what we had just done. Yeah, so I think it was able to get reframed, which I felt like was in essence like the reason why we did it this way. Yeah.
You mentioned something actually that you had the idea to do Iceland before the Colorado to Utah trip. Now I think the Colorado Utah trip was at like 2021 and Iceland, that trip was what, 2024. So there's a few, but like, how did the Iceland idea come to be? Like, how did you have this crazy idea of, wouldn't it be awesome to ski some of those places in Iceland? I can understand why you thought that. What about bike skiing there? Like, how did that come into it?
Yeah, totally. We had gone to Iceland maybe 10 years prior for a slopestyle contest. And so it was my first, ever trip there. And I was kind of enamored just by the ring road, how it connected all these different landscapes and circumnavigated the entire country, just kind of, via one singular route. And after that trip, we had such a great time, got to see this incredible place. The weather was insane. We were there in March. And I think like one of the contests got canceled. Like it was crazy. And then anyway, so we decided to go back and bike. But I had learned, I guess, on that trip that people did bike the road in the summer. And so I knew that people were doing it, and I thought, how cool is that? And then I think just throughout the years kind of merged these two ideas of wanting to go explore the skiing a little bit more and then wanting to do it in a way that was kind of consistent with what I had been doing in human-powered adventures and ski touring. So it just kind of felt a cool adventure to go bike around Iceland with skis.
Did it take a bit of convincing to get your friend Matt on board?
No, that's what's kind of great about Matt is he's so down with anything.
So you say, hey, I've got this awesome idea in Iceland. It might be a bit windy, but he'd be like, yeah, man, that's my deal.
Yeah. I mean, Matt is like not a biker at all. He
says that a few times.
Yeah, he had never been in clipless pedals before until the day before we left. So it was like everything was new, and we were just kind of, we were so green. Even after I'd done one bikepacking trip before that. And so we were just like, let's just kind of go see what happens. Like, I don't think we were ignorant in a way about it or anything or the difficulty, but we just had this thirst for this adventure to kind of see what would happen, I guess.
Your bikes were pretty darn heavy, like for that adventure as well. You were equipped a bit more than you were on the Colorado-Utah adventure. You had a bit more there. I think, actually,
Yeah.
shout out Old Man Mountain supporters of this show. I think you used their racks.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They would have been a lot more stable than your Walmart jobby there, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, a little bit.
But I think you said somewhere in the film, like, that were they like 50 kilos or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. When we first started and on some of the heavier days, yeah, probably around 50. Yeah, because we had, we had this massive gear list of everything we had, and we had, like an expedition tent and 0 degree sleeping bags and all of our filmmaking equipment, mountaineering equipment, all of our ski stuff, layers,
Ski
food,
boots.
gas,
They weigh
boots.
a ton as it is.
Yeah, so we were really packed to the gills. But on the flip side, like, yeah, it was really heavy, but I think we were also just ready for anything, which was cool. So, like, I think that part of it was very important, that it felt like no matter how bad it got, weather-wise or anything like that, like, we'd be fine. We could just post up in our tent, and we'd have food, and we had water, and we had gas, and we were always pretty set for a few days at least.
And actually, you sort of bring a valid point there. Heavy weather like that would be something that I'm sure you've experienced a fair bit. Like, just the nature of your sport, skiing, means you're often in places in winter. Great snow conditions often come after, huge storms and blizzards. Is camping out in the weather and stuff like that, that's something that you would have experienced a lot of times before, like but for skiing, not for biking and skiing?
Yeah, for sure. And like Matt has spent a ton of time out on glaciers in Argentina every year, and so we both had a lot of knowledge when it came to winter camping and to just moving through winter environments, I guess. And I think we're both pretty good at just being as prepared as we can. So whether that was knowledge that we have as like EMT knowledge that I have, or I don't know, other camping stuff or fixing stuff, like all of that kind of helped us feel like no matter what got thrown at us, we'd be fine. But it also comes with like trusting your partner too. And so like knowing that if shit hit the fan, like, yeah, I trust Matt, he trusts me. And it's only through having so many experiences together, like Morocco or stuff in Canada or Europe, whatever, like, yeah, we just have a nice foundation, I guess, to kind of work from and build together.
Is it the sort of journey that you would ever... I'm just saying, thinking it now. Is it the sort of journey that you'd ever take on your own? Like, could you have done Iceland on your own? Because I think there's an element with the stuff that you do as well. There'd be a safety element with that type of backcountry skiing as well, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I think, skiing, I don't really ever go alone in the backcountry. And so I think, it's super important to have somebody there. I think everybody has their own risk tolerance and acceptance, but for me and the kind of skiing I like to do, I like to have somebody with me. And I think there would have been a great experience if I had tried this trip alone, but it wouldn't have been the same, and I don't think I would have enjoyed it. It's kind of nice to be able to share those moments with somebody, the highs and the lows, and somebody understands the struggles and the successes, but also I think the most important is all the meat in between,
Yeah. And also, to be the person that gets someone out of their low and helps them to get back happy again, and conversely have someone that builds you up when you're feeling a bit shite as well. Like, I think there's moments where, I don't know, did both of you actually physically get blown off the road?
Yeah, Matt didn't, but I did like 3 times.
And not just sort of blown across and just gently fall over. Like, I think there's one time on the film where you're like, whoa, I just got totally blown and I'm so lucky I didn't fall. And then I don't know if it's like 5 minutes later, but like you do get totally launched off the road and like down a ditch, really.
Yeah, I did like a full cartwheel, little front handspring off the bike. Yeah, those were some of the good crosswinds we were talking about.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like we said, like sharing stories and sharing moments. It's so nice to do with somebody else.
Yeah, because I think you shared a tent too, right? Like, I think, was there just one tent, or did you both have a tent?
Yeah, we just had one tent. Yeah.
Yeah. See that you've got a buddy with you if you're sharing a tent.
Yeah.
Did you have a day where you were just hunkered down in the tent and actually couldn't go?
No, I think we were just so green at bikepacking that we just decided to go every day. and whatever it threw at us, we'd be like, we had some days where we weren't just in a tent, and maybe we were in like a guest house somewhere or something, and we were posted up. But when we were kind of in the tent, we were just cruising. Yeah, not cruising, kind of getting destroyed, but
cruising at like 3 k's an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The wind is brutal. I mean, places where I've heard the wind's even more brutal is like Patagonia, and actually Mongolia gets a pretty bad rap for wind as well. That time that you did having guest houses, though, something that I really love about your film is the parts where total strangers make it. So it's the Icelandic people that you encounter along the way as well, and they're telling their stories, and there's sort of like a sense of pride that you have come to this part of Iceland and they're telling you about it as well. Like, there'd be an element with your type of trips, Cody, especially as a documentary filmmaker, where you do research where you're going to. You're not going into it totally without any knowledge whatsoever. But there'd also be those awesome moments where you learn about stuff that you couldn't, find on Wikipedia, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the most important part is, maybe you get like a little basis of where you're going, but I think from going slowly too, that allows you to find those moments and have those things come up kind of like most of the time. Like, I think at Iceland too, it was kind of this antithesis almost to the itinerary or the kind of travel people usually do in Iceland, like bucket list, checking off waterfalls or these certain things that you have to go do versus kind of going slow and trying to exist in a place and using a different lens. So I think that's why the bike was so important for this, was the chance encounters that it brought us to, like meeting random people on the road or, all these locals we got to connect with or, all these different things. It just happened because we were going slow and we were being observant and we were allowing ourselves to be open with the place instead of having some end goal or waterfall on our mind,
Yeah, and I think the other thing you mentioned there is something that, listeners, so many guests have mentioned, like the bike becomes a magnet to curiosity. Like, people become really curious as to why you're there. Like,
totally.
You're not in a four-wheel drive, you're not on a bus tour. Here's 2 random dudes from the US in our country with skis strapped onto their bike in, winds that would blow you off the road. What on earth are these guys doing? And, like, you get the questions then from people. Like, so it's sort of like a conversation starter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nobody had seen skis on a bike like that in the middle of winter in Iceland. Like, we were definitely sticking out. And I think word was, like, constantly traveling ahead of us about these 2 guys doing this thing. People like, we heard about you guys in some other town or something like that. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it just allowed for so many conversations and for us to meet people and get to know people, like people that we had met on that trip, all still in contact with and, get to see. And yeah, it's really cool. It was a really cool way to break down that barrier in any sort of way, and just be open. Like, we were fully open. We were just like as vulnerable as we could be. So yeah, it was cool.
Did you have points where you wished that your bikes didn't have skis on them? Like, did you have, or conversely, did you have points where you wished you weren't on a bike and you were just skiing?
Yeah, I mean, the bike got a little tough some days. There's some rough ones. Like, spend an extra half hour in the tent in the morning trying not to go or something. Matt's pretty good. He always has he always travels with mate because he spends so much time down in Patagonia, and we just kind of like cozy up in the tent and be like, another 5 minutes, another cup, another round. Just trying to like delay the inevitable. But I think we owned it, I think, as well. Like, we just kind of did it, and we're trying to connect with people and just try to enjoy the experience, and kind of not try to hide from it when we were on the bikes.
I could totally see, like, wrapping your hands around a hot cup or something. that totally makes you go, oh yeah, it's pretty cool in this little tent. Let's stay out. Because you had some, I mean, we've talked about the wind, but you had some abysmal weather, like rain and stuff as well. Like, it wasn't just wind that we're talking about here either.
No, yeah, we had some blizzards. We had like fully ice-covered roads. We had rain, a lot of rain, hail, thunderstorm. We had everything.
Something that I really love that you did after your Iceland trip was, I think you like made a book and stuff, a picture book and stuff from there. One of the sections of it was like the bakeries of Iceland. And I know we've talked about food a little bit, but Cody, something about this show, I'm a food lover and I cannot do an episode that doesn't really talk about food in some way, shape or form because much aligned with you, I feel like food can get us through some hard times.
Yeah.
I want you to describe, what are you going to be typically finding at like an Icelandic bakery?
Ooh. Yeah, our favorites were wienerbrods. It's kind of like a flaky pastry with a little custard in it. There's some that, depended on where you're getting from. There's a really good bakery in Reykjavik that has some they've got nuts on it, the cream in the inside, some cinnamon. They're so good. But I mean, I feel like that's why a lot of people bike, and I get it now. You know, you get to like go crush a bunch of miles and then eat some pastries, and it's pretty awesome.
Oh my gosh, absolutely! Like that's 100% why like, I'm motivated by food.
Yeah.
I love the idea of like a custardy sort of spicy, like cinnamon spiced custard in a pastry. Oh gosh, is it warm or is it cold?
I mean, no, like some of them were more room temperature. Then I feel like at some gas stations sometimes they're a little warmer. Depended. But we had like our little ranking of places that we'd go, but it was super fun too. Try to like, we were on such a little budget, trying to make it all work for a month plus. But we'd have these little moments of treating ourselves to a pastry, and like Matt loves pastries, so yeah, it was rad.
Part of the awesomeness of these type of adventures, especially when you're in these areas, is the actual area you're in, like nature, like just the insane beauty and raw landscapes that you are in. I'm someone who lives for these type of landscapes myself, Cody. My passion is photography, so often my bike rides are linked to taking me to amazing landscapes where I can, practice my craft, for lack of a better phrase for it. As a filmmaker, did you find, like, part of the film, the act of travelling through a landscape in, let's just say, a semi-ridiculous manner, like on the bikes, against all odds, that's such a powerful part of the story. But another powerful part, obviously, is the imagery. So as a filmmaker, in the hard moments, like, were you losing the landscapes? Like, are you looking at that as how you're going to tell the story thread and weaving through that type of stuff as well?
Yeah, I definitely say so. Like, we had that kind of like analytical, technical mindset too, of like, we're making a movie, need to like do these certain things, and kind of be, actively looking for some of the stuff, not too much, not trying to distract ourselves from the experience that we were having on bikes, but at the end of the day too, we were making a film, and Matt's a photographer as well, so it's just kind of, I guess second nature for him as well, just always wanting to share stories and take photos of incredible places and feats and the rawness of, kind of a well-earned adventure, I guess. But for me, like, I hadn't like done a ton of just filming by myself before, like a little bit, but this was kind of a nice opportunity to be able to do so and to be able to kind of have my own lens on that as well with the story that we were telling, or that was like setting up our own shots, or, riding the bike with the drone in the air and stuff like that, because Iceland, as people know, is such an incredible place, and so, myriad of different landscapes that are volcanic or mountainous or whatever it might be. And so I think we were constantly looking up and looking around and being aware of our environment and just being constantly inspired by it too. Like, I don't know, it's incredible. I mean, you like ski-wise, you ski a line from right next to the ocean, like almost right down to it, and your bike is at the bottom. I don't know, like it was incredible. We were so fortunate to have been able to move through it like that. Yeah,
the images from that were amazing, like were mega, like I could feel that as well. And there's a great part in the film where you are skiing those lines, and you've sort of got it from that aerial perspective of looking at the landscape that you're dropping down to, and it's just, I don't know, I don't have the words to describe it, and I certainly don't have the skills to ever ski it, so I can't put myself in your skis and imagine what it's like to be there, but it's as close as good as that. Was the skiing part of it as well? Were there any lines like were there places that you knew this is going to be somewhere that we're going to want to ski, or was it literally looking at the mountains and the landscape around you going, that looks pretty good, let's try for that?
Yeah, kind of, I guess a little bit of both. Like, we had done some research before we went, so we knew the bulk of our skiing would kind of be in that northern Troll Peninsula. You kind of scout things from Google Maps, and try to get an idea of maybe there's a couloir in here or here, but you don't really know until you go. And we had no idea what the snow conditions were going to be like, really, or if things were going to be filled in with snow and kind of be able to be skied where we had thought that they might. But like you said, I think that's going slow too, like allowed us to be able to look up and be like, okay, this looks incredible. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go here. And kind of like allowed us to take the time to look through the landscape and appreciate it, and like not rush through the skiing in any way either. Yeah, you could miss a certain moment because you're not in a car or something like that. But for us, it kind of seemingly worked out with the pace that we were going and what we were trying to do. I feel like it seemed like we had to trust our own timing in it because we couldn't rush, so we just had to allow whatever to happen. And if we were lucky to get a moment to go ski something, a good light or something like that, like, yeah, it was incredible. I felt like everything aligned.
Listeners, I recently had the pleasure of taking my own little mini bikepacking adventure, and on that trip I used the Zirali Summit Seeker tent. Zirali are an Australian brand making awesome outdoor gear, and their prime motivation is to get more and more of us out there in the outdoors. So their gear is great value without a super high price tag. Their Summit Seeker tent, it's a 2-person tent and weighs just 1.6 kilos. What I absolutely loved about using it on this weekend was how quick and easy it was to pitch, the fact I could sit upright in it and not have my head hit the ceiling. It fit both me and my husband in it perfectly fine, and it has double doors, which meant neither of us had to awkwardly climb over each other if we needed a middle-of-the-night bathroom break. Check it out for yourselves, the Summit Seeker 2-person tent from Zirali. Clicking the affiliate link in the show notes also helps support this podcast. Back to the episode.
Yes.
There's an element where you say you couldn't rush. Like physically, there were times where there was no rushing on the bike. There was no magic fast forward button. You weren't on e-bikes that even then that would probably be blown backwards in some of the weather that you had regardless, right? But also with the skiing, like that is something you can't rush. Sometimes the conditions are out of your control as well. I think there's a point in the film where you're stuck. I think you were in a guest house for this because, the conditions were definitely not safe for skiing either, I think. There's a great looking line ahead of you, but going up there that, I don't know whether the avalanche risk was a bit higher or something like that too. So, because I guess my question to this part here, Cody, is when you're on the bikes traversing across and you're seeing something, so it's taking all of your energy to just ride where you get to, and then you got to park the bikes randomly, pull them up against a road post or whatever, to then go hiking for I don't know how many hours to then get your ski line in. Like there's an element, you were saying at the start, like you're not an endurance athlete, but there's an element of like how on earth are you getting yourself through? Like you are more than earning your turns. Like how... I guess because you've got to be so safe, you've got to be switched on. You were saying at one point in the show how skiing is second nature to you, but also you can't rush it. Like, were there ever times where you turned up and you were like, actually, no, we're too tired for this, like we're absolutely done? Or was there somehow the energy just somehow magically happened?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like somehow the energy just happened in a way. Like... Yeah, I don't know where, like, I guess it stemmed just internally for both of us. And, I think we were constantly, what am I trying to say? Like, I think we were just maybe constantly inspired and constantly reaffirming our choice to do it on bikes every time we were able to ski, if that makes sense. Like,
okay.
Like it felt every time we showed up somewhere, like how I said earlier, trusting our timing and trusting the process, like it just kind of felt like it worked out. And it was the path that we were supposed to be on. And so for us, when it came to skiing, like it felt like some great alignment in what we were doing. And whether or not that day we ended up skiing something great and getting a shot or getting clagged out from clouds or something like that, like regardless, it felt like earned maybe too. And it felt like this deeper sense of gratification just being out there, regardless of what the end result was. So it wasn't like, if we get this line, we need to get this line. We weren't really like feeling that way. Maybe it was more of felt like whole through the experience maybe. And that's why it didn't feel like we were ever rushed or something like that. Like it felt I don't know, things just felt aligned and felt like we were doing it in the right way. And I think a lot of people we had met or conversations that we had had or other skiers or whatever it was, like kind of kept reaffirming our choice to do it slowly and do it via bike. And maybe it was just the lucky weather patterns we had or where we were or, that kind of kismet. But I don't know, things just kind of
Worked out.
worked out. Yeah. I mean, there were days obviously where it didn't work out at all from the outside, but I think for us, like, I don't know, we were just in it. Yeah. We had learned early on in the trip just by getting like destroyed so many days in a row that it was going to be hard. But I think it made each of those like ski moments kind of that much better. Yeah.
Was there an element where you just had to readjust your expectations from those early days? Like, where the very start of it, it's sort of like you've gone to level 10 already. Like, it was hard from the start, it felt.
Yeah.
Was there a level of, this is actually, we're either going to have some really long days or we've got to take a lot longer than we thought? Like, did you have to sort of readjust the original plan?
I think the first day I was like, there's no way. I was like, we had left kind of late, but we had made it, I don't know, 20 or 30 miles, like not far at all. And it was so windy. The bikes were so heavy. I hadn't worked out in like 8 weeks because I was injured. And so it was like all these compounding things. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, this is going to be, there's no way. But I think starting off on such a difficult note and then each day kind of got progressively harder for a little bit. But we were able to kind of like get into that rhythm of kind of suffering, I guess, a little bit on the way. Obviously still finding, joy in the entire experience. But yeah, physically it was very difficult the first few days. And it was kind of questioning if it was going to be possible, if we could do it in the time. We gave ourselves like 40 days. Obviously we could have changed things like that. But I think for us, it was tough. But we just, chipped away day by day, I think. And like, kind of kept compounding on itself and feeling a bit lighter, just emotionally in it all and feeling like it was possible kind of day after day. I think because we were constantly going through these really difficult moments and just being like, all right, if we can do that, kind of bring it on. What else is coming on? It kind of became a game in that way,
Sort of looking at it more as an achievement to get through each day as well. Like, that was awesome. I did that. Look what I can do. I can do this.
Yeah,
it's sort of giving you that self-affirmation in a way, or self-assuredness that you've got what it takes.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely building the confidence each day, I think, like whatever was being thrown at us. I always kind of likened it in my head to like a video game where like each level is getting tougher and tougher and there's a like harder boss, and then that was like a weather thing that came through the day. And it was like, all right, heavy, cold, crazy winds, and it's like, all right, even more insane winds, and it's like, okay, fully ice roads. Like each day was something like more and more intense, but then you get to that, you just kind of get through it and it becomes the new normal of the new baseline, I guess. So yeah.
Actually, when you talk about the fully iced roads, just a practical element of that. Like, did you have spiked tyres or something? Like, how were you riding on fully iced over roads and not just... Like, I know you're a skier, so sliding's commonplace to you, but like how did you make that happen?
Yeah, that one was a tough one. But we didn't have any studded tires. We had thought about maybe bringing one just in case, but we ended up not. Just because we knew we'd be on asphalt the whole time, we didn't want to just be crawling with, most of the time at least, would be just on kind of drier asphalt. But yeah, we had to kind of figure that one out, and we just ended up being like, we would hold a little bit of tension on a brake and pedal in the side where there's maybe a little bit of rock coverage from a plow that had dropped some, and then you just keep it tight, try to be in the snow and not on the ice, and yeah.
I wonder whether being a skier, like a professional skier, helps you in that, because you can slide it out.
Bit.
Like,
yeah, well,
maybe I don't know. You're a bit more supple.
Yeah, I mean, I ate it pretty good on the ice too on the bike. So.
Oh gosh, because actually, it's those shitty little falls though. Like if you slammed and whack on your hip, like that could easily break a pelvis. I know you don't need to be going at high speeds to have a horrendous injury. And actually, if we talk about injuries, you mentioned there how you weren't able to do anything for 8 weeks because you were injured leading up to the trip. Can you talk a little bit about that? And also, was there ever a time where that injury nearly put the trip in jeopardy?
Yeah, I think all of that. I hit a tree about mid-February that year skiing. It was kind of in the landing of a jump, and I hit the tree pretty hard. I broke 8 ribs, my scapula, and punctured my lung.
So, listeners, it's not a little injury here. You know, when he's talking about a little injury, we're not talking about, you know, a calf strain.
No, it was very bad. But the worst part was I was sick when it happened, so I was coughing for
Oh my
the whole week,
gosh.
and it was
I
it
cannot
was so
imagine like 8 ribs
yeah, it
broken.
was so bad.
Yeah, oh, well, and the punctured
Yeah,
lung.
it was rough. Yeah, it was very bad. But I guess, like what was not good, but being posted up with an injury, I was able to focus, I think, more on the logistics side of making this trip happen. Physically, obviously, would have been nice to have been able to train. And after the Utah one, I was like, okay, I'm really going to train this time and I'll be ready for this thing. But of course, yeah, now it's like negative coming into this one. But
Because there's mindset stuff that happens then as well, because that can put you into a real mental low too. Like you've put a lot of time and effort into setting the dates, clearing your schedule, going to have a trip happen. You've got a buddy coming along, so it's not just you that you're responsible for there either. It's a project that you're working towards. And then, no one goes skiing planning to hit a tree, smash 8 ribs, puncture a lung, and totally wreck your shoulder blade either. Like that's some serious level stuff. Like mentally coming through that type of stuff. What got you through that type of, I guess there's a real potential for something like that to spiral you into, a bad mental health episode, really.
yeah, totally. I mean, I think I've always been very lucky that I have as equal drive for interests outside of skiing. Like I work as a creative director at a ski company right now, but I do a lot of graphic design and creative work. So I feel like I'm able to have this other side of myself that in that instance was able to kind of ramp up a little bit more. Yeah, I wasn't doing my main passion of skiing that I love so much, but I was able to shift the buckets a little bit and make it through mentally. And I had so many great people around me. Yeah, my partner and dog and so many good people in my family.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was super stressed, of course, of seeing if I was able to do this. I was still really tender and kind of hurting throughout Iceland a little bit. I had done like one bike ride to make sure I could ride and feel okay, and skied like a day or something like that to just make sure I could do that. But yeah, like you said, I mean, you've got a friend on it. You've been thinking of this idea for so long. You've got the pieces all together to make it happen, and you have sponsor budgets on the line who are helping you out with this, and like my career as an athlete too, and all these things. But I guess what I did learn from that too, from the injury, it was almost that idea of I needed to slow down a bit more in my life at the time. I was trying to do too much. I was sick when I was hitting this jump and got hurt, and had just flown back the night before from Canada, and like all these things, all these like almost red lights of telling me to slow down and not do it. And then I, got pretty wrecked. But that kind of framing, I think, was super helpful in going into a trip like Iceland, where we were forced to slow down and do it differently.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Like it's sort of like the universe is saying this is the lesson you need to learn.
Yeah, I think so.
If you want to be deep and meaningful about it, we don't necessarily need to be, but it feels like that in a way.
No,
right?
it did for sure. I think I needed it, and all these big grand ambitions of my ski career that year and all these things, and then it was kind of a good reset of okay, let's pause the brakes and let's do it a little differently. It was a very tough time, but it was a nice growth period, I think, for me.
With that injury, just out of my own curiosity, my gosh, I have broken ribs before, and it's horrendous. Like the thing that I recall is like everyone talks about sneezing and stuff, but like you sort of know when a sneeze is coming on, and you can sort of it hurts, but you can brace for it. Coughing is horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Laughing is horrible. Laughing for me was like not nice, and I never was able to figure out the right way to haul myself up or lower myself down into bed, like getting from that lying to sitting position. No one ever talks about
so
that.
bad.
But they're ribs, right? So I can understand that. But is there any long-term impacts on, say, your scapula, like your shoulder blade there, or having a punctured lung? Like, what happens? Like, how does the lung sort of like? I've never had one. Listeners, maybe you have. I don't know what it's like to have one. Like, what? How does that heal?
Yeah, I mean, what you have to do is keep that lung inflated. So I had a bunch of breathing exercises to do, and this like. I don't know, the spirometer. I forget the name of it, but you breathe into it and you get a score.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
kind
about.
of or the amount of volume you're kind of displacing. And so I was doing that like over and over. And then I think the rest was just making sure I was stretching and doing what I could, but obviously a lot of just hanging out. I had like a red light thing from a buddy that I put on him, and I would just, kind of do what I could and take it easy. But I don't think I've had any lasting impacts after.
Yeah. Like the shoulders feels
fine, shoulders all
and...
good. Ribs are all good. Yeah, I think I'm all good. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Like I said, I've broken ribs twice, but it was only ever one at a time. I can't even fathom 8. Like, it would just feel like your whole rib cage is on an eternal fire, right?
Yeah, I didn't think it was. I knew it was bad, but I didn't think it was as bad as it was. I didn't go to the doctor the first day. I went home, thought it'd be okay, and
that blows my mind. Well, that blows my mind. Like, is this from previous experience of other bad crashes?
I don't know. I think I just like
telling yourself you'll be okay, mate. Just a bit of bed rest.
Maybe a little bit of a mental kind of thing. Like, it's all good. It's all good. But then I was like, all right, I really need to go to the hospital and check this out. So luckily I did. But it was kind of those things where you did X-rays and they're like, you've got some broken. And it was like, call me later, like, you need to come in now again. Like, it's not good. And then they figured it all out. But, it was, not the best time. And it was right. I think it was the day before Valentine's Day, too. So it was a tough one.
Oh,
but
man, no.
It's okay. We learn.
You'll never forget it.
No.
You're almost coming up to the anniversary of it soon.
Yeah. Should be psyched.
Touch wood. No need to touch wood. We just don't need any of that to happen to you again. Man. But I do love that idea that it sort of reinforced the idea that sometimes you do actually just need to pause a little bit and slow down and not have so many things that are you're going from one thing to the next to the next to the next. Like sometimes it is just like, actually, this is too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it was working for a bit, and like there's definitely more busy periods of times in life and all that going on and drives and things that we want to do. But yeah, for me, the reframing of it all to still be allowed to grow how I want to grow, but do it in a way that's more either intentional or more smarter was super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess also, Cody, like when you did come to the end of the Iceland trip, like you said, it never felt like it was the route was like the whole thing you had to do, that you completed it, but it must have felt pretty darn good having had that extra little bit of adversity with the injury to have gotten through it and had all the experiences you were able to go ahead with it, you were able to still do it. Then turning it all into a film, that's a whole process in itself too, right? Yeah,
I think the film was like harder and more taxing than the biking, I think. Put me back on that bike, It's hard to take that, like we said, this entirety of an experience and then you come out with a snapshot of it as a film, and you need to be okay with that delivery too. You can't include everything. You got to kill your baby sometimes. Yeah, it's not the experience. It's its own thing. And so kind of having to get rid of a lot of that emotional attachment with it in the process was tough, but also good. And realizing that there are different things is important too. And I think also there's the flip side of it too, where because you have documented it, there's also reminding yourself what you've done too. Like there's that bit where you go, oh my gosh, that's right, I remember that. Like it's only after the fact that you go through it, especially I imagine, Cody, with something like Iceland where it's experience after experience sort of hitting you bang, 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 day after day in different ways. It can all just blur into one big thing, and then having to slowly go through how you've documented it as well must have been, there would have been some pretty, this is, amazing to see. And then, as you said, Matt's a photographer, so pairing it up with his incredible imagery as well, it's a pretty cool sort of partnership there to put it all together. Yeah, I think we're lucky when we have like such a good creative partnership together. Matt and I, and being able to like work together on filmmaking, photography, and like kind of athlete photographer relationship. He just like gets it. He knows what I'm gonna do, knows where I'm gonna ski, knows how I ski now. So I think we can just work together almost without like communicating in a way too, which is super nice. We just kind of like, we get it now, which is great after working with somebody for so long. But yeah, I mean, I guess going back, it was really nice kind of going back. And I guess I didn't really start making the film until probably like a year later in a way. Like it had sit for a little bit. We had a longer timeline with it. And before I started kind of putting together a big timeline for the editor, you know, it was really nice to go back through everything and feel like it felt like we had done justice in a way with how much we had shot and like tried, given the circumstances, and like just being us, kind of our first foray into really like trying to make something like this together. And so we were, you know, like felt good about that. Like no matter what we did, like try and like know we tried. But it was fun to kind of relive a lot of those moments and go through, you know, some of the stupid jokes we had on the GoPros, or like all these, you know, things that, you know, just like, oh my God, we're so dumb, or all these fun little things, or these clips that you had said or your buddy said, and you're just like, oh dude, this is great.
There's always like a phrase that sticks with each adventure too. Like it's almost like a code word between friends, and you could just say a phrase or just mention something, and you know it takes the other person right back to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what, like, you know, in the film we talk about tortellini all the time, you know, but it was like, that's just like an example of one of those many jokes that we had that just persisted through the entire trip, you know, like gives you some grounding of like, I don't know, everybody's losing their mind when you're on something like this long and this like tough, and you just get through it with stupid jokes that you repeat over and over and over. But that's like, you know, what tortellini became to us. So it was kind of nice to like bring the viewers into something like that.
Yeah, that's why you don't mind eating it now.
Yeah, exactly.
It got you through.
Yeah, totally, you know.
Oh, it was the staple. What I really love is that it's pretty clear to me, speaking with you now, like whatever type of human power you choose to do, like human-powered adventures is sort of what you want to sort of move towards a lot more now. Like we mentioned it at the start, how it sort of grounded you a little bit, connected you a bit more, and you feel like it's part of the story now. Like how you get to places and choose to travel there has become almost as important, if not more important, than the final line that you're skiing down the top of the couloir as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say for me, for sure. Like kind of like we touch base on, like skiing will always be that part of my identity, right? That's like consistent throughout everything. But I think the method and the places where I really, learn and can discover more about either myself or these different places. And I think like that's how, when I feel the most connected to environments or humans or myself, is by doing it in these slow, intentional kind of ways. Yeah, that as a method and that is a way to do it has been, I think like reframing my skiing quite a bit. Yeah, it's just not about the like what, but about how we're doing it. You know, it's the style that it's done in. It's not the feat itself of the line or whatever, but the approach, the entirety around it. I think that's what I've been kind of getting more interested in a bit. Like,
have you got sort of future projects where this is all coming together for you again as well? Like that type of idea, the intention of what's the method going to be that I'm going to take to get to somewhere? Yeah,
I think so. I think what I don't want to do is make it like tacky or something like that in a way.
Yeah, no, you can't make it cliche either. No,
like not just trying to be the bike to ski dude, but like, you know, I think for me though, it's like the thoughtfulness in, you know, even like saying going to Europe soon, but going for a longer period of time, things like that, and making sure that there's like an intention of how I'm doing things and traveling. I've definitely got some like ski expeditions in mind that we're, you know, going to hopefully go try and do, maybe not like, but just like longer approaches to these kind of, really, really beautiful, unique, remote places. But there's still like that side of me, that's the athlete side too, of being a professional skier and wanting to push myself technically and like progress my overall skiing, I guess, too, you know, and goals that I have. things I want to do, things I want to complete and ski. But I think I don't want to sacrifice the overall journey or adventure of getting to that place. You know, I want to allow myself to do it in my style and when it feels better to me.
Do you think, I mean, you've just gone and said about, you know, obviously skiing is your sport. You are an athlete. Do you think you would ever do just a bike adventure that's not attached to skiing, just because?
Yeah, I'd be psyched to. I think I know me and my fiance would love to go do one sometime soon, hopefully. So we'll see. We'll see what we could get into.
Where do you reckon you'd go? Like if you could magic yourself to make it happen, where would you choose?
Yeah, we've kind of talked about maybe trying to go to Ireland or something like that.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Wild Atlantic Way or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot there's so many cool places out there. I think that's what I find is really exciting is like having that passion, like whether it's biking or skiing, in having that be the little like impetus of a grand adventure, you know, and take you somewhere that you never thought you could have been or whatever. And it's so cool to have a passion that can do that and make you dream and make you go to these like wild, untouched places and go learn about yourself and about something totally different. But you still feel this little like identity or this connection to people or to a place, but rooted in what you love to do.
Yeah. And I think of it for myself, like the places that I've been to, and 100% it's wholly and solely because of, well, I guess riding. Like actually to me, something that I've done recently, so I'm not a skier, but something I've changed about my own bike adventures has been, it's not just about the cycling or the bike part. It's more, I'm a big believer that the magic happens when the road and the trail ends, and then you go onto the hiking trail and you're going further than what your mode of transport could normally take you if it's on wheels. That's unlocked a whole level of different stuff. Whereas, you know, a few years ago, Cody, it would have been every day has to be about riding a bigger distance and getting from here to here. It's all got to be all the bike. I've now taken adventures where I've not really ridden that much, and I've spent time, you know, overnighting in places to go hiking and stuff, and that's filled my, you know, energy cup full of, you know, wanderlust and joy. More than that too, like it is, like you said, it's cool when you realize that it sort of like unlocks a different level. You were talking about video games, but it's like unlocking another part of wanderlust or energy or something like that too. I can't even think of the right words to describe it.
No, totally. I think like it's only through kind of putting yourself in these adventures and in these trips where you can like reframe it to be open and to like look for those moments or to just let them happen, you know, and like it doesn't happen from sitting on the couch. Yeah, you can't plan for it. And I think that's the beauty in doing something like this, and why the bike is a vehicle is so great to do it with.
Absolutely. Well, I'm stoked. I'm stoked that I've been able to interview someone who takes very different adventures to what I'm used to, and to be able to share your story. It was so cool researching about you beforehand, because I just got to watch some great docos. I loved it.
Oh, thanks. Too kind.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I live for mountains, so seeing those environments in whatever way, you know, is going to energize me as well. I'm pretty stoked to see what comes next for you and what sort of journeys you go on as well. Like I said, listeners, I'll put links to Cody's socials and his YouTube channel in the show notes, and a special one to the Icelandic film as well. So you 100% want to watch that. Put it on the biggest screen you've got and just enjoy. Cody, I've got to wrap the show up. There's 3 questions which I ask every guest to finish off with. The first one's actually music related. And it is, you're a guest of the show, you get to go onto the Seek Travel Ride music playlist, one song picked by every adventurer, and you get to pick the song that's going to be the soundtrack to your adventures. What song would you choose?
Woof. All right. Lately I've really been into, it's called Thinking of a Place by War on Drugs.
Ooh, I don't know this song. What sort of music style are we talking here?
It's a good one. It's like, almost if you took like kind of like an old Americana way, like Bruce Springsteen or something, but you made it, I don't know, maybe a little bit more alternative or something, or indie. It has a lot of different sections in it. It gets me stoked.
Awesome. All right. You are down. Listeners, you can listen to the playlist. It's such an eclectic playlist, by the way, because you've got songs from all different genres at all different levels. You could be tuning into something that's very classical, and then all of a sudden you got a drum and bass beat coming down you. So it's quite perfect. Cool. And it goes for hours. It's available on Spotify and Apple Music as well, listeners, and there's a link in the show notes. Okay, next question. you've got a choice one day. You can go left and you're going to be cycling all day long on the most bumpy, corrugated washboard road surface of your life. There is no flat ground. It's just going to be, super hell. You go right and you're going to be in the most horrendous block headwind of your life. No let up in that either. Which one are you going to go, left or right?
I think I'm going wind. Just like,
yeah,
I need to know. I'm like the wind guy now.
Oh, wow. You really leaned right. Oh, gosh, is that a pun? You've leaned into it?
Yeah, no doubt.
But I was thinking when you were talking at the start of the show that you love the freestyle skiing, you love the moguls, that's all about the bumps. I was like, oh, maybe he's a corrugator guy. But no, you're the wind man. Oh, sensei.
I was gravel biking last summer on some corrugated, and it was a washboard, and it was, I don't know, I never want to do it again.
It's hell.
It was so brutal. So I'll take the wind.
I'm always worried that my bike's going to break.
Yeah. You just feel so bad. Your hands feel so bad. It shakes through your entire body. Versus wind. Yeah. I'd rather be in the resistance training.
Cody, could you imagine how horrible a washboard road would be if you had broken ribs?
Yeah, don't. And you're sick. Don't do that.
Don't go there. All right, and last one for you, Cody. I want you to finish this sentence for me, and that sentence is, the best thing about taking a bike adventure is?
Being vulnerable. Yeah.
Is that like in the way that things are out of your control?
Yeah, I think so. You're really like, you're open to the environment, you're open to people, you're open to everything, and you kind of, being in that state, have to meet a place with your vulnerability to like experience it in a cool, open way. And I think that's where we become like our most true selves and our most present, and like we said, can kind of lead us into all these different offshoot adventures from, where we started. So I think the bike is that tool, just kind of breaks down all those barriers and allows you to really be who you are.
In a way, you're the first I've asked this question to so many hundred of people now, but you're the first person to talk about the vulnerability side of it, but also like that's the growth side of it too.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe I'm like not, maybe I'm, I'm sure you have a lot more like seasoned bikers on there, so maybe like it's just can be very magical.
I want to close up actually with a quote from you, and it was actually from one of the voiceovers from your first bike ski packing. What do we call it? Bike to ski? Ski bike packing? Well, I don't even think I've nailed down the term.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It was your first one that you took from Colorado to Utah, and you close the video off and you say, getting away feels the opposite to what happened. With every pedal stroke, I found myself more connected to the now, to the world around me, and the people who were with me were just bypassing. But most importantly, it was connected to myself. I found myself, again, alone on the road. It's just you. So you might as well be kind to yourself, or you'll never make it over that next hill. That was, again, what it's all come down to for you. When you think about now, Cody, and I think of what you're doing, you've realised that like slowing it down has led you to being much more connected. It's that sort of mindful thing in a way. It's that sensory overload of experiencing everything, every single thing around you, and that's what's giving you the energizing feels. That's what you're looking to tap into for your next journeys as well. It's been so cool to chat all sorts of topics, talk about dreamy locations, learn a bit more about you and how you got into skiing, talk about tortellini pasta and how it got you through. Sometimes all you need is a Snickers bar to change the mood. Cody Cirillo, it's been such an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your stories here on Seek Travel Ride.
Thank you so much for having me, Bella. What a pleasure, and yeah, thank you.
There you go, listeners. A very different type of bike adventure, I'm sure you will agree to. But I just love that chat with Cody. I loved hearing what motivated him to, strap skis onto his bike, make it ridiculously heavy and go and discover places. And we mentioned it a few times in the episode, and maybe I sound like a bit of a broken record on it, but the idea that it was so important to just slow things down, and that he was forced with his friend Matt to slow it down in Iceland. There was no way that you could actually go faster than what they physically could, but that's where the magic happened. And also just trusting that they were never going to miss out because they were going slower. There was sort of that inherent trust that came through from Cody that they were going to get the experiences they were after. It didn't matter what the weather was doing on a particular day. They knew that ultimately it was going to deliver. And it really, really did. I cannot encourage you more than enough to go and check out the film and check out Cody's other projects. And if listening to this has piqued your interest to go ski bikepacking or bike to ski, I'm not sure what we've landed on, the term, but if it's prompted you to maybe do multiple types of different modes of adventure in the one bigger adventure, please get in touch with me. I would love to see A, what your setup looks like, and B, I'd love to hear where you went and what you did. And yeah, thanks again to Cody for coming onto the show. Now, listeners, if you are enjoying listening into this podcast, tuning into new episodes each and every week, and you want to show your support and appreciation for the show, you can simply head to buymeacoffee.com/Seek Travel Ride. Buy me a few virtual coffees, but more importantly, let me know what is it that you love about the podcast and where is your next bike adventure going to take you. And until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening. And that's the end of the episode, listeners. Don't forget, be sure to check out Old Man Mountain, who are supporting Seek Travel Ride this year. I am a massive fan of their gear, and I 100% recommend you check out the Hemlock bags and flip cages, a super handy and robust bag and cargo cage system. I love them, and I'm sure you will too. Head to oldmanmountain.com and support the brands that support this podcast.